There is a secret that the world does not want you to know. It is hidden in plain sight, whispered about in the biographies of great men, and etched into the foundations of every fortune ever built. We spend our lives searching for the fast lane, the hack, the lucky break. We look for the door that swings open effortlessly. But what if I told you the shortcut is actually the long way? What if the path everyone avoids because it looks too hard is actually the only road that gets you there faster? Most people spend their entire lives running in the opposite direction of wealth, convinced they are sprinting toward it. They chase the market, the tip, the trend, and they wonder why they remain exhausted and empty. Tonight, we are going to talk about the one thing that separates the masters from the masses, the one quality that turns a wishing man into a wealthy one. It is not genius, it is not luck, it is something far simpler and far more difficult. It is the one thing you have been avoiding, and it is the only thing that will set you free. Let us begin by sitting quietly with the truth that might be uncomfortable. It might rub against everything you have been taught about success and happiness. Here it is. The average person lives their life in a state of constant, low-grade escape. They are not running towards something meaningful. They are running away. Away from discomfort, away from boredom, away from silence, away from the hard work of thinking. Think about your own day for a moment. When a difficult task presents itself, something you know you should do but do not want to do, what is the natural impulse? The immediate reaction is to delay it, to find something else, anything else. You check your phone. You suddenly remember you need to organize your desk. You decide this would be a perfect time to make a cup of tea. The mind becomes a master of distraction, a genius at finding reasons to postpone the inevitable. We have become masters of filling our time with noise. We convince ourselves that being busy is the same as being productive. But activity is not accomplishment. Motion is not direction. You can spin your wheels in the mud all day long and fool yourself into thinking you are making progress because you are exhausted by nightfall. But the mud does not move. The truck does not budge. You have simply worn yourself out for nothing. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the habits of successful men. This was not a quick survey or a casual observation. He dedicated 2 decades of his life to understanding what made the wealthy and powerful different from the struggling masses. He sat with Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. He studied their minds, their habits, their daily routines. And what he found was not what you might expect. He did not find that they were smarter. He did not find that they had more talent. In fact, many of them started with nothing less than nothing. They faced bankruptcy, failure, ridicule, and loss. Many of them were considered average or even below average in their early years. So what was the difference? What he found was a specific relationship with discomfort. They did not fear it. They did not run from it. They understood something that the average person refuses to accept, that discomfort is the price of admission. It is the toll you pay to enter the territory of achievement. The hidden problem that keeps people average is this: they have never trained their mind to obey them. Their mind is like a wild horse, and it goes wherever it pleases. It wants pleasure. It wants distraction. It wants the easy path. It wants sugar, not vegetables. It wants entertainment, not education. It wants sleep, not sacrifice. And because they have never learned to bridle it, to tame it, to master it, they spend their lives being dragged wherever their impulses take them. You see, the world is designed to keep you distracted. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply the nature of a marketplace that has learned what sells. Every advertisement you see, every notification you receive, every algorithm that serves you content is a gentle whisper telling you that you deserve ease, that the hard thing can wait, that comfort is the goal, that pleasure is the purpose. But comfort is the enemy of growth. A muscle does not grow in comfort. It grows when it is torn, when it is pushed beyond its limits, when it experiences the discomfort of failure and repairs itself stronger. The same is true of your mind, your character, your fortune, and the absence of discipline is not freedom. This is the great lie of our age. We think freedom means doing whatever we want, whenever we want. But that is not freedom. That is captivity. It is being a slave to your own fleeting desires. The man who cannot say no to a donut is not free. He is a slave to his appetite. The woman who cannot put down her phone and work is not free. She is a slave to her distraction. The person who spends money they do not have on things they do not need is not free. They are a slave to the moment. The man who cannot control his own mind is a man who will always be controlled by someone else. He will work for wages that someone else decides. He will follow orders that someone else gives. He will consume content that someone else profits from. He will wonder why the fruits of his labor end up in someone else's pocket. He will look at the wealthy with confusion, unable to understand what they have that he lacks. The first step to wealth is not making money. The first step is reclaiming the throne of your own mind. It is realizing that you have been asleep, sleepwalking through your days, taking orders from a part of yourself that does not care about your future. It cares only about right now. It wants what it wants when it wants it, and it will use every trick in the book to get its way. This part of you is not evil. It is simply primitive. It is the ancient survival mechanism that wants to conserve energy, avoid pain, and seek pleasure. In the wilderness, that served us well. In the modern world, it is a liability. It keeps you average. It keeps you safe, yes, but safety is not the goal. Growth is the goal. Achievement is the goal. Wealth, in its truest sense, is the goal. And until you wake up to this fact, you will remain in the crowd. You will remain average, not because you lack ability, but because you lack the one thing that directs ability towards a purpose. Not because you lack dreams, but because you lack the force that turns dreams into reality. That thing is discipline. We have all heard the phrase. It rolls off the tongue so easily, so naturally, that we rarely stop to examine it. I'll do it tomorrow. 3 small words. They seem harmless. They feel like a simple deferral, a reasonable postponement. After all, tomorrow is another day. What is the harm in waiting? But let us sit with this phrase for a moment. Let us hold it up to the light and examine what it really means. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow is not a real thing. It does not exist. It is a phantom, a concept, a ghost that we chase but never catch. It never arrives. Every day you wake up, it is today. Tomorrow is always just out of reach, a moving target that recedes as you approach. So when you say, I'll do it tomorrow, what are you really saying? You are saying, I will not do it today. You are making peace with inaction. You are giving yourself permission to fail in the present moment, with a vague promise to succeed in a future that may never come. We use this phrase to soothe the guilt of not acting. It is a psychological anesthetic. When you feel the sting of knowing you should be working, you apply the balm of tomorrow, and the sting fades. You feel better. You have a plan. You will start on Monday. You will begin the diet tomorrow. You will write that first chapter next week. And in that moment, you feel relieved. You have tricked yourself into believing that progress has been made, when in reality, nothing has changed. But here is the hidden cost. Every time you say tomorrow and do not act, you are training your brain. You are teaching yourself a lesson. You are programming your subconscious mind with a dangerous belief that your word is flexible, that your promises to yourself are optional, that commitment is conditional on comfort. Think about that for a moment. If you tell your child you will take them to the park, and then you do not go, what have you taught them? You have taught them that your word cannot be trusted. You do the same thing to yourself every single day. You make a promise to wake up early, and when the alarm rings, you break it. You make a promise to start that project, and when the time comes, you break it. Over time, your own mind stops believing you. It stops taking you seriously. And when you finally do decide to make a change, your mind laughs. It has heard this before. It knows you do not mean it. This is the mental trap. The trap is the belief that motivation comes before action. We sit around waiting to feel like doing the hard work. We wait for inspiration to strike like lightning, to fill us with energy and enthusiasm. We think that successful people wake up every morning bursting with joy, eager to tackle the day, immune to the resistance that plagues the rest of us. Let me tell you the truth, and listen closely to this part because it matters They do not. They wake up feeling the same resistance you do, the same fog, the same heavy limbs, the same desire to stay under the warm blanket, to drift back into comfortable unconsciousness. They feel the pull of distraction just as strongly as you do. They hear the same voice whispering, "Just 5 more minutes. You deserve rest. You can start tomorrow." The difference is not in how they feel. The difference is in what they do with that feeling. The undisciplined person negotiates with the feeling. They have a conversation with it. "Just 5 more minutes," they say. "Maybe I'll do it later," they bargain. "I worked hard yesterday. I deserve a break," they rationalize. They treat their feelings as commands, as orders that must be obeyed. If they do not feel like working, they do not work. If they do not feel like exercising, they do not exercise. They are at the mercy of their emotional weather, tossed about by every passing storm. The disciplined person does something entirely different. They acknowledge the feeling, and they act anyway. They do not ignore it. They do not pretend it does not exist. They simply recognize it for what it is, a feeling, not a command, not an order, just a passing sensation like a cloud moving across the sky. And they have learned that feelings are not facts. They are just weather, and you do not cancel your journey because of a little rain. You put on your coat and you keep walking. Napoleon Hill spoke extensively about the importance of what he called a definite chief aim. This is not a wish. It is not a vague hope or a dream you think about occasionally. It is a burning desire that you have committed to paper, that you have planted deep in your subconscious mind, that you have surrounded with a concrete plan for its achievement. It is the destination on your map. But here is the part most people miss, and this is where the trap closes its jaws. Having a chief aim is not enough. It is essential, yes. It is the first step, but the chief aim is the destination. Discipline is the ship. You can have the most beautiful destination in the world in your mind. You can visualize it every day. You can feel the emotions of achieving it. But if you refuse to leave the harbor, you will die in the harbor. The ship will rot. The dream will decay. The trap is the illusion of time. We think we have forever. We think we can afford to waste days, weeks, months, years. We treat time as if it is an infinite resource, as if there will always be more of it tomorrow. But time is the only currency you cannot earn back. You can make more money. You cannot make more time. You can repair a broken relationship. You cannot repair a wasted hour. Once it is gone, it is gone forever. Every moment you spend scrolling through your phone, watching content you will not remember, indulging a whim that takes you away from your purpose, you are spending your life. You are not relaxing. You are not recharging. You are trading hours of your existence for pennies of distraction. You are selling your birthright for a bowl of stew. The average person does not realize they are in a trade. They think they are relaxing. They think they are unwinding after a long day. But they are trading their potential for comfort. They are trading wealth for warmth. They are trading the mansion for the microwave dinner, and the trade happens so slowly, so quietly, so gradually that by the time they look up, decades have passed. They look in the mirror and see a stranger. They wonder where the years went. They wonder why they are still in the same place, doing the same things, feeling the same emptiness. They do not realize that the ship sailed without them, that they missed the boat not because it left early, but because they never bothered to buy a ticket. They were too comfortable on the dock. This is the trap. It is subtle. It is quiet. It does not announce itself with trumpets and alarms. It whispers. It seduces. And it will keep you average for the rest of your life if you let it. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years studying the most successful people of his generation. He interviewed over 500 of the wealthiest and most accomplished individuals America had ever produced. And from this decades-long investigation, he distilled a set of principles that he believed could transform any person, regardless of their starting point, into a person of achievement. Among these principles, one stands out as particularly misunderstood. It is often dismissed as mysticism or wishful thinking, but those who have mastered it know it is neither. Hill called it autosuggestion. It is the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious mind. It is the principle of programming your own mental computer. Now before your mind drifts off thinking this is some kind of magic trick, Let us be clear about what this principle actually means. Autosuggestion is simply the process of feeding your subconscious mind with thoughts, ideas, and beliefs deliberately and repeatedly until they become part of your operating system. It is the mechanism by which you take control of the mental garden we spoke of earlier. But here's the part that most people miss. And this is where we return to the central theme of our time together. Autosuggestion requires discipline. Without discipline, autosuggestion is just daydreaming. It is fantasy. It is sitting on the couch, imagining yourself rich, while the bills pile up on the kitchen table. You cannot simply visualize wealth and expect it to appear. That is magic thinking, and the universe does not respond to magic. It responds to law. It responds to cause and effect. It responds to action. You cannot visualize yourself into shape. You cannot affirm yourself into a fortune. You can affirm all day long that you are a great pianist, but if your fingers never touch the keys, you will never play a single note. The law is this: the subconscious mind will accept any order you give it, provided you give it with feeling and repetition. But giving an order requires effort. It requires you to sit still, to focus your attention, to repeat the affirmation when you are tired, when you are bored, when you do not believe it will work. It requires you to show up when the magic has worn off, when the initial enthusiasm has faded, when the excitement of the new idea has been replaced by the monotony of the daily practice. This is where discipline enters the equation. It is the force that makes you show up at the altar of your own mind every single day. It is the hand that places the thought before your consciousness again and again until it sinks down into the depths where it can do its work. Think of your mind as a garden. We used this image before, but let us go deeper with it now. The undisciplined mind lets any seed grow. Weed seeds, flower seeds, it does not matter. The wind blows, the birds drop seeds, and the garden becomes a chaotic mess. Thoughts come and go. Doubts sprout alongside dreams. Fears grow tall and choke out the tender shoots of ambition. The gardener does nothing, and the garden becomes a jungle. The disciplined mind, however, is the gardener. And here is what the gardener understands that the casual observer does not. The gardener shows up every day, not just when the weather is nice, not just when they feel like it. Every day. They pull the weeds before they take root. They water the flowers they want to grow. They remove the stones that block the sunlight. They do not wait for the garden to fix itself. They know that if they are not in control, the weeds will be. Hill taught that your thoughts are things. They are seeds. And like seeds, they require consistent nurturing to grow. You cannot plant a seed and dig it up the next day to see if it is growing. You cannot plant it and then forget to water it for a week and expect it to survive. You have to water it, tend it, protect it, and trust the process. You have to wait while the work happens beneath the surface, invisible to your eyes. Discipline is the daily watering. It is the boring, repetitive, unglamorous work of keeping your thoughts aligned with your purpose. It is saying no to the thoughts of doubt that try to creep back in. It is saying no to the fears that whisper that you are not good enough. It is saying no to the laziness that tells you to rest when you should be working. It is the daily, consistent, unspectacular practice of choosing your destiny over your comfort. Most people quit because they cannot see the seed growing. They plant it, wait a week, see nothing, and assume it is dead. So they dig it up and go plant another seed somewhere else. They spend their lives digging holes and never harvesting. They start businesses and abandon them. They begin books and never finish them. They join gyms in January and stop going in February. They are forever planting, forever hoping, forever disappointed. The disciplined person knows something that the quitter does not. They know that the growth is happening underground. It is invisible. It cannot be measured or observed, but they keep watering anyway because they trust the law. They trust the process. They trust that if they do the right things, day after day, the results will eventually appear above the surface. This is where the shortcut is revealed. And this is the heart of what we are exploring together tonight. The shortcut is not a faster path. It is not a secret door or a hidden passage. The shortcut is a straighter path. It is refusing to wander. It is refusing to dig 100 shallow holes, and instead digging one hole deep enough to strike oil. Think about the person who jumps from one career to another, one business to another, one relationship to another. They are always starting over. They are always at the beginning. They have 10 years of experience, but it is 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. They have not gone deeper. They have only gone wider. And width without depth is emptiness. The disciplined person stays. They stay when it gets hard. They stay when the excitement fades. They stay when everyone else tells them to quit. They stay because they understand that depth is the only path to wealth. Depth of knowledge, depth of skill, depth of character. And depth requires time. It requires patience. It requires the discipline to remain when everything in you wants to leave. Napoleon Hill called this faith, but not faith in the religious sense. Faith as a state of mind, a conviction so strong that it influences the subconscious and attracts the resources needed to achieve the goal. And faith, like any state of mind, is developed through discipline. It is developed through the daily practice of feeding your mind with thoughts of success, of possibility, of achievement, until those thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs become actions, and those actions become results. Most people never experience this. They live their entire lives at the mercy of their circumstances because they never took the time to master their own minds. They never learned the principle of autosuggestion. They never understood that the thoughts they think today are creating the life they will live tomorrow. They blamed the world for their problems, never realizing that the world is simply responding to the signals they have been sending. The principle changes everything because it places the responsibility exactly where it belongs, on you, not on the economy, not on your boss, not on your parents, not on your lack of education or opportunity, on you. And that is terrifying for most people. It is much easier to believe that the world is against you than to accept that you have been against yourself. But for those who accept it, for those who embrace the discipline of autosuggestion, the world opens up. They realize that they are not victims of their thoughts. They are the creators of them. They realize that they can plant any seed they choose in the garden of their mind, and with enough watering, enough attention, enough discipline, that seed will grow. It must grow. It cannot help but grow. It is the law. Let us step into the mind of a great achiever for a moment. Not a famous billionaire, though it could be. Not a celebrity or a public figure, though it might be. Let us think of any person who has ever accomplished something difficult, something that required time, patience, and sacrifice. A mother raising a child alone, working 2 jobs, still finding time to read bedtime stories. An artist working in a small apartment, painting night after night, year after year, before anyone ever knew their name. An athlete training before dawn, pushing through pain, missing parties and gatherings, all for a competition that lasts only minutes. What is happening inside their head? Is it a constant stream of positive affirmations and joy? Is it endless enthusiasm and boundless energy? Is it the absence of doubt, the lack of fear, the complete confidence that they will succeed? No, it is a battlefield, just like yours, just like mine, just like every human being who has ever lived. The difference is not in the presence or absence of the battle. The difference is in the interpretation of the battle. And this is where everything changes. Listen closely to this part, because it holds the key to understanding why some people rise while others remain. The average person sees resistance as a sign to stop. They encounter difficulty and their mind immediately translates it into meaning. This is hard, therefore I should not be doing it. This hurts, therefore it must be wrong. This is taking too long, therefore it is not working. It is a logical error, but it is a common one. We have been conditioned to believe that ease is the indicator of rightness, that if something is meant for us, it will flow effortlessly. That struggle is a sign that we are on the wrong path. Think about how dangerous this belief is. It means that the moment things get difficult, the moment you encounter resistance, the moment the path becomes steep, you interpret that as a signal to turn back. You abandon the climb just when you are getting close to the summit. You quit the relationship just when it requires real work. You leave the business just when it needs your full attention. You spend your life walking away from the very things that could have made you whole. The achiever sees resistance completely differently. They have learned, often through painful experience, that resistance is not a sign to stop. It is a sign that they are on the right track. They know that if it were easy, everyone would do it. They know that the obstacle is the way. They know that the pain they feel is the pain of growth, the stretching of capacity, the expansion of ability. When they feel the urge to quit, they recognize it as the very thing that is filtering out the weak. They welcome it because they know that on the other side of that resistance is the territory that belongs to the few. The summit is empty because most people stopped halfway. The fortune is unclaimed because most people gave up digging 3 feet from gold. The life they want is waiting for them, but only those willing to push through the resistance will ever reach it. Napoleon Hill spoke of something he called mastery. It is the point at which you take complete possession of your own mind. It is the moment when you stop being a passenger in your own life and become the pilot. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And as the observer, you have the power to choose which thoughts to act on and which thoughts to let pass by like clouds in the sky. This is the fundamental shift. The average person believes they are their thoughts. If they think they are tired, they are tired. If they think they cannot do it, they cannot. If they think they want to quit, they quit. They have no separation, no distance, no perspective. They are fused with every passing whim and emotion. The achiever has created a space, a small gap between the thought and the action. In that gap, they have freedom. They can observe the thought of quitting, acknowledge it, and choose a different path. They can feel the fatigue, honor it, and still take the next step. They can hear the voice of doubt, thank it for its input, and proceed anyway. A great achiever thinks in terms of investment, not expense. This is another crucial distinction. When they wake up early while others sleep, they are not losing sleep. They are investing in their future. When they say no to a distraction, they are not missing out. They are investing in their focus. When they spend their evenings studying while others watch television, they are not sacrificing. They are investing in their knowledge. They have reframed the entire game. The average person sees discipline as a series of deprivations. They see everything they have to give up, everything they have to suffer through, everything they have to endure. No wonder they avoid it. Who would choose a life of deprivation? But the achiever sees something entirely different. They see everything they are gaining. They see the compound interest of daily effort. They see the person they are becoming. They see the future that is being built, brick by brick, with every choice they make. The pain is still there. The sacrifice is still real. But it is contextualized within a larger vision that makes it meaningful. The average person asks, "What do I feel like doing?" This is the question of a child, of someone who has not yet taken control of their life. It is the question that leads to chaos, to inconsistency, to a life shaped by whim and impulse. One day you feel like working, so you work. The next day you do not feel like it, so you do not. There is no pattern, no momentum, no progress. You are a leaf blown by whatever wind happens to be blowing. The achiever asks a different question entirely. They ask, what needs to be done? This is the question of an adult, of someone who has accepted responsibility for their life. It is the question that leads to order, to consistency, to a life shaped by purpose rather than mood. It does not matter how they feel. It does not matter what they want in the moment. What matters is what the work requires, what the goal demands, what the vision necessitates. This is a seismic shift in consciousness. It moves you from a reactive state to a creative state. You stop being a creature of circumstance and become a creator of circumstance. You stop asking the world to give you what you want, and you start giving the world what it needs from you. You stop waiting for your ship to come in, and you start swimming out to meet it. And this is where wealth begins, not with money, not with investments or properties or bank accounts. Wealth begins with the production of value. It begins with becoming the kind of person who can be counted on. A person who delivers. A person who finishes what they start. A person whose word is their bond, whose work is their signature, whose life is their message. The world is starving for such people. It is desperate for them. Every employer is looking for them. Every customer is seeking them. Every opportunity is searching for them. And when such a person appears, the world rewards them richly, not just with money, though money often follows, but with respect, with trust, with influence, with the quiet satisfaction of knowing that you are the master of your own ship, the captain of your own soul. The achiever thinks differently because they have learned to see through the illusions that trap the average person. They see that comfort is a cage. They see that distraction is a drug. They see that procrastination is theft, stealing from their future self to pay for their present pleasure. They see that discipline is not the enemy, but the friend, not the prison, but the key, not the burden, but the wings. And once you see this, once you truly understand it, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to sleep. You cannot pretend that the old way still makes sense. You are awakened, and the awakening changes everything. You may have been searching for wealth your entire life. You may have looked for it in jobs that promised security but delivered only exhaustion. You may have chased it in deals of the promising but turned to dust in your hands. You may have hoped for it in lucky breaks, in chance encounters, in moments of fortune that never quite arrived. You may have read books, attended seminars, followed gurus, all in the hope that someone, somewhere, would give you the key. But wealth, true wealth, is not something you find. It is not a treasure chest buried on a beach, waiting for you to stumble upon it with a map and a shovel. It is not a lottery ticket, not an inheritance, not a lucky break. Wealth is something you become. It is a state of being that radiates outward from the core of your character and attracts the material symbols of its nature. Think about the wealthiest people you know, not in money alone, but in spirit. The ones who seem to have an abundance of peace, of joy, of meaning. They are not wealthy because of what they have. They have what they have because of who they are. The wealth is the effect, not the cause. The cause is the person they have disciplined themselves to become. Discipline is the forge in which this state of being is created. It is the daily hammer blow that shapes the iron of your character. It is the fire that burns away the impurities, the pressure that compresses the coal into diamond. It is not glamorous. It is not fun. It is not the stuff of movies or inspiring speeches. It is often lonely and hard and boring. It is waking up when you want to sleep. It is working when you want to rest. It is saying no when you want to say yes. It is choosing the road with the toll when everyone else is taking the freeway. But it is the only path. There is no other. There never has been. And there never will be. The awakening moment, the quiet realization that can change everything is this. You do not need more information. You do not need another book, another course, another secret revealed by another expert. You do not need another YouTube video or another podcast or another seminar. You have all the information you need. You have known what to do for years. The gap has never been knowledge. The gap has always been application. You know you should wake up earlier. You know you should focus on one thing until it is done. You know you should say no to distractions. You know you should invest your time in learning, in creating, in building. You have always known this. The information has been there, waiting for you, patient as a faithful dog. The question has never been, what should I do? The question has always been, will I do it? What you need is not more information. What you need is the will to apply what you already know. What you need is the discipline to close the gap between knowing and doing, between understanding and becoming, between the person you are and the person you could be. The distance between who you are and who you want to be is measured only in the moments of choice. It is not measured in years or months or even days. It is measured in instants, in the moment when the alarm goes off and your hand reaches out to silence it. In that moment you have a choice. You can choose the path of least resistance, roll over, and stay in the warm bed. Or you can choose the path of power, throw off the covers, and begin. In the moment when you sit down to work and your phone buzzes with a notification, in that moment you have a choice. You can reach for the phone, let the distraction pull you away, and tell yourself you will get back to work in just a minute. Or you can choose the path of power, ignore the buzz, and keep your eyes on the work. In the moment when you are tired, when you have given everything you have, and there is still more to do, in that moment you have a choice. You can tell yourself you have done enough, that tomorrow is another day, that rest is important. Or you can choose the path of power, dig deeper and find one more ounce of effort. These moments are everything. They are the bricks from which your life is built. And every time you choose the path of least resistance, you lay a brick of weakness. Every time you choose the path of power, you lay a brick of strength. Over time, those bricks become walls. Those walls become a fortress. And you will live inside the fortress you have built, whether it is a fortress of strength or a fortress of weakness. Napoleon Hill spoke of something he called the invisible guide. For him, it was a council of great minds he would consult in his imagination. He would gather the images of Lincoln, Emerson, Carnegie, and others, and he would hold imaginary conversations with them. He would ask them questions and listen for the answers that arose from his own subconscious. It was a technique for accessing wisdom that lay beneath the surface of his conscious mind. But perhaps the greatest guide you can consult is simpler and closer than you think. Perhaps the greatest guide is the future version of yourself, the person you could become if you made the right choices day after day, year after year, the person who has the wealth, the peace, the freedom, the respect, the person who looks back on this moment with gratitude or with regret, depending on what you do next. That person is looking back at you right now. They exist in the future, but they are watching this moment. They know the choices you are about to make. They know whether you will get up when the alarm rings tomorrow morning. They know whether you will work when you do not feel like working. They know whether you will stay when everything in you wants to leave. Are you making them proud? Are you building the bridge that will allow them to exist? Or are you burning it down, one lazy decision at a time? Are you creating the conditions for their success, or are you dooming them to a life of wondering what might have been? The shortcut to wealth is not a secret door hidden behind a tapestry. It is not a code you have to crack or a riddle you have to solve. It is the decision to stop looking for doors and start building the road. It is the understanding that every moment of discipline is a brick laid on that road. And the road, though long, is straight and true. It does not twist and turn. It does not loop back on itself. It goes directly from where you are to where you want to be, provided you have the courage to stay on it. There is a stillness that comes when you accept this, when you stop searching for the magic solution and start embracing the mundane work. The anxiety of wondering if you will make it disappears. The fear of missing out fades away. The jealousy of watching others succeed where you have not yet succeeded loses its power, because you know that if you simply stay on the path, if you simply keep laying bricks, you will arrive. The destination is guaranteed by the journey. The result is guaranteed by the process. You cannot fail if you do not quit. That is not inspiration. That is mathematics. That is law. That is the way the universe works. Every seed that is watered grows. Every muscle that is exercised strengthens. Every skill that is practiced improves. Every road that is walked reaches its end. The only variable is whether you keep walking. And in that stillness, in that quiet acceptance of the long road, you find something more valuable than gold. You find peace. Not the peace of having arrived, but the peace of knowing you are on the way. You find self-respect. Not the respect that comes from achievement, but the respect that comes from effort. You find the quiet power of a mind that has learned to obey itself, that no longer fights itself, that has become one unified force, moving in a single direction. This is the wealth they cannot take from you. This is the fortune that cannot be stolen, the investment that cannot crash, the currency that never inflates. It is the wealth of character, the wealth of discipline, the wealth of a life lived with purpose and integrity. This is the shortcut. It is the long, beautiful, difficult road of becoming the person who cannot be stopped. And it begins tomorrow morning when the alarm rings and you have a choice. Go now and be still. Let these words settle not in your memory, but in your bones. Let them sink down past the noise of your thinking mind and into the quiet depths where real change happens. Tomorrow, when the choice comes, remember who you are choosing for. Remember the person you are becoming. Remember that the shortcut is the long way, and the long way is the only way that leads where you truly want to go.